Your Honor, what happened that day was the worst, most tragic mistake of my life. It was the worst day of my life. I was negligent. I told my attorney when I hired him almost a year ago that a negligent homicide was one of the charges. I would have pleaded guilty, took everything myself, and we wouldn't even been here today. Because I was. When I put my baby, or I had Larry put that baby in that car, the air conditioner was on. It was on. When I checked her at 12:30, I just went her to teach her notice what was about. She was thinking a nap. She had gone over to school. I should have cut that out there and kept her more. I should have busted out that window when the car was locked. I don't even know what's going on. I should have busted out that window. I should have got my baby out of the car. But it was nothing against her. And I will live with that for the rest of my life. Nobody loves Christina more than I did. I was working 4 jobs to get a wheelchair there for her. Just had her fitted for a brand new top of the line wheelchair. Had her clothes ready to school. I would have never hurt my baby. I can't believe that I was convicted of murder. Because what happened was not murder. It was negligence and something that whether I'm in prison or home, I will regret for the rest of my life. And I can't wait to be with my baby girl again. Please, Your Honor, you can consider give me a minimum hour arrest, anything. I don't care. I don't have much time left anyway, and I would like to spend as much time with my children and grandchildren as I can. And know that I would have never, ever stood outside that car and watched my baby suffer. I loved her. I loved her more than anything in this world. And I'll tell you what, Larry loved her too. Larry would never have hurt her. We were arguing that day, and we put ourselves in front of her. I lost total track of time, but it was not murder. It was not intentional.
Well, you didn't write the law. And you weren't thinking about the law on that day, were you?
And like I said, I was negligent, and I own that, and I have for 4 years. Everyone who I talked to, I told them I should have made better choices. I should have gotten in that car like Larry wanted me to, and I should have taken my baby home. And there's not a day that goes by that I don't there's not. I don't. Because she would be here now, and I just taken her home. The home that I just had totally renovated for her. Her bedroom, her bathroom, the whole house was all for Christina. And as soon as I got out of jail, I could own the market because it wasn't a home anymore. I didn't care about it. Because no place is home without her.
Anything else you want to tell me? All right, response by the state.
No, sir.
Yeah. the conduct of the defendants in this case, true, is being represented now by the defense. It's not a traditional murder. It's not where you pull a gun and shoot someone in the head. But your conduct can become so extremely reckless that it constitutes a willful disregard for human life and constitutes murder. To place the child in a burning car, in effect, and walking away is murder. To leave a child in a car for 6 hours under the circumstances that occurred in this case is murder. It's not one of the situations that we see, and there have been studies most recently where people forget about the child, believe that they have dropped the child off for daycare and various things. But that's not this situation, where there's absolute, total disregard for the child. Considering that the two of you were there around the car any number of times without doing anything to save this child's life and contributing to the child's death. And all the good things I've heard today, being a teacher, being a concerned person, being a wonderful friend, a person of faith. That wasn't a person there on that day when you all were on this drug binge, at least as described by Mr. King. And I've said it before, that people we see in court are typically not the people that were out on the streets doing the things that landed them in court. And it doesn't get any worse than this as it relates to a mother and a child and a person with the mother dealing with the child. So the offense that you committed was murder, and that's all there is to it. Of course, you would love the opportunity to turn back the hands of time, but you can't do it. Of course, you will continue to suffer for what happened to your child, but for being strung out on meth. And I've seen it time and time again. Was it methamphetamine we're dealing with? Yeah. But for methamphetamine and dealing with it, neither of the two of you would be here. But those were decisions that you all made. And to the extent your minds were just totally contorted, and I don't know the minds of a person on meth, but I paid close attention to the witness who testified convincingly about the effects of methamphetamine on the brain. It's as if you didn't have a brain on that day at that time. And, we're hearing about this mistake and bad judgment and all, I see it all the time with children, people who we deal with all the time. I call them children, 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds, people who do these same types of things, kill people, because they're strung out on drugs, high on drugs. And, you know, a life sentence for them is more than the lifespan that you're talking about, because they're going to prison at ages 20, 21, 22, 23 for life. And you don't have the excuse that they might come in here with. Of course, none of it is acceptable, but they will come in strung out on drugs, parents strung out on drugs, all kinds of things that play into them going wayward, going astray. And for you, a person who had a good reputation in the community, to throw it away chasing drugs, and then coming and asking me for leniency? And I'm trying to balance who's more at fault here, really, Mr. King or Ms. Panalangam. I mean, it's almost a toss-up. Mr. King put the child in the car and, per the video, just didn't care anything about the child. Just left the child there to die while they're pursuing each other. It's just so, it's almost unbelievable. How could you all do such a thing? And you could do such a thing because you're hooked on drugs, hooked on meth.
I've always been anti-drugs.
Pardon?
I divorced my first husband because he was an addict.
Mm-hmm.
I do not do drugs. I never did drugs. It was in my brain that weekend, and I have told my lawyer that several times. But I don't do drugs, and I wish back then I would have taken a hair follicle test or something to show me that drugs was not a part of my life.
Yeah, well, that makes you having less an excuse, less justification. Your mind wasn't screwed up as you're telling us now. Yeah, a mother who's not under the influence would leave their child in a car under those circumstances for 5-6 hours, who knew the child was in the car and knew the child had been in the car for that period of time, and drive off and leave the child. How could you? Anything further?
Yes, sir. No, thank you. Not as an excuse, but to better clarify her position. Her position is that was the first time she had ever tried it, Your Honor, is what she said. That she didn't have a pattern of conduct of abusing the drugs, but that was the first weekend, and it ultimately led to the worst mistake of her life.
Yeah.
Your Honor, if any benefit to this
It was his first time as well.
No, you got to testify, and I'm not letting lie on it.
Yes, sir.
He was an addict. He did say that. No, it was certainly not his first time. He had tolerance. He was an addict, and he told the court that, and he told ladies and gentlemen jury that. No, if it's any benefit to Mr. King has accepted responsibility from the outset. When I'm talking about the possibilities, he accepted responsibility, and he's accepted responsibility. I know it's going to be imposed on him one way or another. He can do it gracefully or not. He has done it gracefully, accepted the verdict of the court. I think he deserves credit for that. If Your Honor disagrees, you know so.
It doesn't help me clarify in my mind who is the most culpable out of this situation, or are they equally culpable. Are there, whose conduct was the most extreme? The mother who abandons her child in that setting and does nothing to rescue the child, who chooses Mr. King and her own pleasure over the child, or Mr. King, who throws the child, or he didn't throw it, places the child in the back of the car and shows no concern, compassion, or anything for the child, and in effect joins with the mother in the treatment of the child. Though it wasn't his child, he initiated his role in it when he placed the child in the back of the car, and when he did nothing to get the child out of the car.
On behalf of Mr. King, in response to your
Yes, sir.
inquiry,
Yes, sir.
all my dealings with him and all my conversations with him, he doesn't want me to point the finger or some way to minimize his involvement or his culpability by saying, well, she's worse, she's worse. Your Honor's heard what he's done. He owns the conduct. He was candid on the stand.
Yeah.
He's accepted
Yes, sir.
gracefully at the table. He's not.
And I appreciate that. You've said that repeatedly, and I accept it, and I appreciate that.
But when Your Honor asks me who is more culpable,
In my mind, I'm trying to make that determination because I'm going to have to sentence each one of them to a period of years. They might get the same. One might get 30, one might get 40, one might get 50. They might each get the same.
to the extent Your Honor was inviting me to point out the reason she's more culpable, Mr. King does not want to do that. He owns his conduct.
All right, I understand. Thank you. And I'm not attempting to pit one against the other. I'm just,
And I feel
yeah.
that's anyway. That's how remarkable position it is. And we agree.
All right. Mr. Solicitor.
I've tried to stay quiet, and I'm sorry.
I don't like people to stay quiet on me.
I can. Before the case comes to you, it has to go through. They're both here together today because of that. I couldn't make that decision. I could not decide which should work because the more I looked at the video, which I have done, I assure you, more than just about anybody, even in this courtroom, I just kept getting madder and madder. And honestly, I could not make a determination who I was more angry at. The man who is putting the child in the car and just stands there, or the mother that abandons the child even before we get into that situation. And I've heard the support groups that these people have, and Your Honor, like you, been in a courtroom for a long time. And we deal with a lot of people that don't have any support group whatsoever. And to have it, and to ignore it, I don't think that's mitigation. I think that's aggravation. Sir, I cannot tell you which one is more culpable, but quite frankly, from my standpoint, I don't feel for either one of them.
What is the penalty for great bodily injury?
20. That's 0 to 20.
Yes, sir. And I looked it up before. I just wanted to be sure. All right, Mr. King, if you'll come around for sentencing. Mr. King is sentenced to the court on the offense of murder that you be committed to the State Department of Corrections for a period of 32 years. Great bodily injury, the sentence is 20 years. Sentences will run concurrent with credit for any time that you've already served.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you all. Panalangan, a lot of folks have said a lot of good things about you and a lot of positive impacts that you've made on their lives. You're not being sentenced to death. You won't be facing a firing squad or a gas chamber or electric chair. Your life goes on, but it'll go on behind bars, and you'll still have that same opportunity to make a positive impact on the lives of other people who you encounter, and I hope you do that. I simply cannot fathom a mother treating a child the way that you did and allowing that to happen to a child, to your child, the child that you birthed. Yeah. I don't know if the child at some point became a burden. I don't know what the circumstances were that would lead you to placing the child in that situation. And as if you left and went to Atlanta, Georgia, or maybe we'll say not Charleston, to Myrtle Beach, and went there and got in the beach in the water a few hours, and then came back, and then decided that it's a frantic situation. You did it. You have to live with it. And as bad as the conduct of Mr. King was, yours was worse, in my mind. And, you can talk about intent where you have rational thinking minds, but extreme recklessness brought upon by drugs and alcohol. As we said, intoxication is not a defense and not an excuse.
And there it is. The judge draws a clear line between remorse and responsibility. Sympathy for the defendant's personal struggles couldn't outweigh the devastating consequences of their choices. What do you think? Was this sentence fair, or should it have been even harsher?
Excuse? That's what, in effect, you're asking, and it's not. Sentence of the court is that you be committed to the State Department of Correction for a period of 37 years on murder, 20 years on great bodily injury. Sentences will run concurrent, and you will receive credit for time served. Do we have the number of days of credit that they're entitled to?
39.
Receive credit for 39 days. And Mr. King, do we know how many days he gets credit for? Did Mr. Other guy left, the lawyers? Does anyone know? I'll just have that calculated by the Department of Corrections. Yes, sir.